how.
No.
So here's how I wound up one of the top tour guides in the country and even in the world. Okay. When I was started my tour in New York City, I didn't want to be the regular tour guide who did like in 1841 on Thursday, August 17th, and have 20 stories like that, and they're all like kind of like just information. I wanted to have something special. So I planned my route. And then I walked my route. And then while I was walking the route, I went to every freaking doorman on the route and said, listen, who got laid here? Who got killed here? Who had an affair here? Okay. And I literally asked every single doorman, and I got all of these great stories on the route. So when I did my tour was in 1871, that happened, but also this person had an affair right over there, and that made my tour more interesting than any other tour in the city. Not because but because it was fun and it was something nobody knew, and it was but then I get here to St. Augustine, and guess what? One of the things that happens in St. Augustine, there are no doormen. So where are you going to get this kind of information? So I opened up my company about 4.5 years ago. I opened up the tour that got famous. I opened up that tour, and I went ahead and I did the tour. And about 4 or 5 months later, I get a call from this lady, and she says, it's my mother's 90th birthday, and she wants to do the Garry tour. I said, well, how does she know about the Garry tour? She said, well, one of her friends took your tour and says it's the best tour of St. Augustine that there is, and that she has to do it. And I want to do it. And I said, okay, no problem, we'll do it. She said, no, you don't understand. My mother has a walker, okay? My tour is not conducive. It's not very good for somebody with a walker. So she turned around and said, but listen, I understand that if I buy 5 tickets, okay, you'll do it as a private tour, and then I could get a pedicab. Me, you, and my mother will drive around in the pedicab. She can get out of the pedicab and into the restaurant, okay, and we can do the tour that way. And I said, well, if you're going to do all of that, then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the tour. So I turn around. So you have to understand that about a couple hundred years ago, a bunch of people from the island of Minorca and all of that took over St. Augustine. It's a long story, but in the end, what happened is the people of St. Augustine started mingling with some of the richest people in the world, because the most expensive hotel in the world, the Ponce de Leon Hotel, was here in St. Augustine. So rich people mingling with St. Augustine people. Okay, so here's what happened. So I go ahead and I ask her, what's your mother's name? And she says, my mother is Sarah Van Cleet. I don't know if you know who the Van Cleets are, but they're one of the richest families in Europe. And she is the daughter of one of the Van Cleets, okay? So I turn around and I go on tour, and you know how like all day I give people facts all day here, facts all day there, facts all day there. Well, I go on tour with her, and she's like, that used to be the Woolworths building, and right over there is where they found the first chocolate-making tools. We've been making chocolate here since 1600. And she just had all of this information that nobody had. She even had stuff on how the oldest street in the United States wound up with an archway on it. Her family owned the house down the block, okay, and the trucks used to drive by and knock it off, and her mother turned around and made a plaque reminding people this is the oldest street in the oldest city in the United States, and then went to the city council and said, hey, we got no place to put the plaque. Let's build an archway. That archway is only there because the archway was at 8 feet and her house was at 8'6", and the truck stopped banging into her balcony. So this is something you can only learn from local people, and that's what I'm really good at. And Sarah was absolutely brilliant at giving me dozens of those facts. Love Sarah.